So what are the aims of this being observed activity are? To consider the importance of affective consideration in being observed. I mean, that's why the relationship between mentor and mentee is so important. If we as mentors have developed good sort of relationship with the mentee, he's not going to feel intimidated when we get into the classroom. On the contrary, he knows that our presence is going to be sort of a help. And at the same time, something which is very important also, never get into a class just like that. Here I am. No, I mean, speak beforehand to your mentee. Let him or her know that you are going to observe him. Because it's not a good idea. Nobody likes that. All of a sudden that the principal gets into my classroom and says, you know, I'm going to observe nothing, nothing. Here he is and I know what's happening. That is even more threatening. So let's, just say this in advance. Another, to begin to consider appropriate mentor behavior before, during, and after observations. How are you going to behave as a mentor? Remember that we want that our mentees reflect, so we're not going to impose anything. We are going to listen later on when we analyze the class and we discuss it. We're going to listen to the mentee. We're not going to say, why did you do that? You should have done this or that. No, just discuss that and make the mentee reflect. To enable participants to make explicit the models of behavior or observers learned through experience. Well, now, comments that generally come, the general come after you have this general discussion. What sort of comments? Most of the time, and I'm quite sure, maybe I'm mistaken, I don't know, I'm just saying things, that probably you have negative feelings about the time when you were observed. And this is something, don't be afraid, and don't be afraid of saying that. Say it, because that's the way we are human beings. Nobody likes being evaluated in our work, but if the evaluation, if the mentor gets into our classroom in a nice way, and we know that it is to help us grow, then the relationship changes completely. It's not something that you're going to be dismissed from the school. No. Okay. Another activity. We don't listen when. I'm quite sure that this activity is very familiar to all of you. I'm quite sure that many times you've been in this. I have, at least. Procedure. Tell each other about an occasion when you were talking to somebody and suddenly realized you had no idea what the other person had just said. I'm quite sure this has happened to many of you, almost. Discuss what happened and why you weren't listening. Yeah? Think about that moment in particular, what happened, why you were not paying attention. Yeah? Discuss it. Okay. Now, let's have a whole group discussion of reasons for not listening collected on a board. You can write it on the board or on a poster. And start with, we don't listen when. Yeah, let's do it now. And let's see what reasons you give for not having paid attention to or for not having listened to what the other person was saying to you. Okay? Right. Now, what do you think the objectives of this activity are? Well, I think, you will say it immediately, because what is it? It is to raise awareness of normal listening patterns. What I said at the very beginning, the way of listening, to introduce the notion of active, supportive listening. Active, what I said, you remember at the very beginning that we have an attitude of listening, body language. Because, I mean, you can be talking to me, but I am writing something, looking somewhere else, looking at the time, etc. But if you are talking to me and I'm listening to you, I start looking at you in your eyes, I do something with my head, my face shows images, etc. But if you are there somewhere else flying, it means that you can't care less. And it is shown that, unfortunately. And you know who realizes that immediately? Young children. Think about your children. I mean, I'm quite sure that most of your examples were connected with your children. Now, comments that are generally collected when this activity is finished, the reasons why people were not listening, it is, well, I wasn't listening because I was daydreaming, for example. I was thinking about something I had to do later on. I was tired. I was hungry, etc., etc., etc. I mean, reasons, we could write a book. Okay. Now, we have seen why mentoring, how to develop some skills, and let's conclude into this. Let's have a conclusion. What can we say? Given appropriate conditions, mentoring can enable the initial development. Okay? What else? Support the transition. What transition? Between being, could be a newly qualified teacher or a teacher with little experience, and then becoming a professional. What that means. Support teachers in continuing development. You know what that is, that you continue developing your EFL methodology, you are updating all the time, you attend seminars, you go to workshops, you read books connected with teaching, etc., etc., etc. And something that, this is what you are doing now. For example, watch a video, discuss it, and give your opinions. That's, for me, that's the most enriching experience when you are with your peers, with your colleagues, especially with teachers like you, because you share experience which are very similar in many cases. Making the changes, yeah, that's very important. As mentors, we have to support teachers in that. Without changes, nothing happens. And if we want to have better teaching, if we want to achieve that our students learn English and at the end of cuarto medio they can at least read a text and understand what it is about, then it means that what we have done has been worthwhile. 5 steps in post-lesson discussion. Listen actively while the mentee describes. When the mentee is describing what they noticed, we have to listen actively. What I've already said, this is sort of a summary of what we have seen so far. Listen actively while the mentee explores as many explanations or interpretations of what they noticed as they can. And if you are invited, if the mentee asks you to suggest anything, go ahead. That's the thing. This is an interaction. You are not the boss and he is whoever. We are the same level. We are teachers, all of us. Listen actively while the mentee recalls what others have said or written about the issues raised. And possibly, and if different, share what they know about what others say or have written. Being informed, being up to date, this is it, in other words. Listen actively while the mentee considers these different perspectives and decides which explanations is most likely and why. The mentee is the one who has to get to the conclusion that what he's going to do is the right thing, considering the type of students he's got, the type of teaching he's giving, the type of school he works at, etc., etc., etc. You are there to support the mentee, not to give the solution, what we said at the very beginning. Listen actively while the mentee makes the decision.